I've had lots of favorite games over the years, but sometimes I've questioned what my favorites really are. It's still fun to think about, but in recent years I've come to the conclusion that it's just too tough to pick favorites, and I've mostly given up on having easy answers for them. But if my life somehow depended on picking one favorite game of all time, I've decided that it's got to be Super Mario Bros. 3. And why do I love it so much? I don't know. I just do. I'm not going to pretend that I've got much else to add to the conversation on Mario 3. But I love it so much that I decided I wanted to make it unique among my cart-only NES and Famicom collections. So I bought a complete boxed copy of the North American version, as well as the Japanese version. It's been a long time since I've had a chance to go through the paper materials of a game this old. So let's take a look at these and remember how a classic from the early 90s presented itself. It's a beautiful box, one of the most iconic ever. The text on the back really makes you feel like this could be the biggest and most varied NES adventure imaginable. And maybe it is. But I'm kind of confused why it's hyping me up to go back to that last screen and get a mushroom. Like left and right screen scrolling, maybe? Hardly a noteworthy feature in its time. And hey, look! Is this the origin of Nintendo's insistence that maybe I should take a break? Whoa, man! This adventure's so big, you'll never beat it without pausing. I'd love to know more about how boxes were designed back in the day. These screenshots aren't even straight, and they have inconsistent light levels. Oh, and this level doesn't even exist. Now, when I took a look inside the box before buying, I was sold the moment I discovered that not only did it have the manual, but also a little Nintendo Power advertisement and an NES poster. It's interesting to see a few games advertised that are hardly remembered nowadays. I've never really thought that much about the extra inserts that come with a game. But now that we rarely get anything more than ugly DLC slips, if that, well, it kind of makes me appreciate it. We're not going to see new stuff like this ever again. I don't know, it's a little sad. Check it out, they even gave a taste of Nintendo Power's indispensable knowledge by sharing Mario 3's most famous secret. I wonder if my original copy had this insert, because I sure didn't know about any of the warp whistles until at least sometime after I'd had the game. But the manual? Now this is something I remember. This is probably one of the most polished NES manuals out there. It's loaded with colorful artwork and gives a bit of personality to the characters. I like this message from Mario that it starts off with a cool little Tanuki stamp. And here's the Koopa Kids. Now these guys have always been among my favorite characters in the Mario universe, and I can't tell you how happy I am that they've once again become a staple in modern Mario games. It was a long wait. I love their distinctive designs, and they appear throughout the manual with little word bubbles that give a bit of flavor for what's detailed on the page. The Koopa Kids definitely made an impression, and I really do have to applaud Nintendo for doing them justice with their modern iterations. Because, frankly, the 8 and 16-bit representations never quite lived up to what my 6-year-old self saw in the manual. Though I suppose we're supposed to call them Koopalings these days, and the text in this old manual is now considered inaccurate, because this twerp is now Bowser's only official child. Oh well. The manual is over 40 pages, maybe not the biggest ever, but it's certainly large for a platformer. It teases a ton of items. Back when Mario 3 was new, I wasn't into adventures like Zelda yet, so the sheer number of things you could collect and use really captured my imagination. But man, I sure don't remember the items looking this bad. It's honestly kind of fascinating to see composite video in print form. Toward the end of the manual, we're introduced to some of Bowser's new minions, or variations on the old bad guys that we hadn't seen before. Man, I've always liked the blue thwomps best. And these things have a name, you know, Rotodiscs, though for the longest time I called them Rotozytics or something like that. This was also the first time ghosts appeared in Mario's world. A lot of people forget that they used to be called not just Boo, but Boo Diddley, an homage to a musician, just like the Koopa Kids, though I certainly didn't know it at the time. And at the end of the manual, we get a nice little note from the Mario 3 staff, supposedly anyway. While the packaging for the North American version goes for a bold and minimalist approach, the Famicom box is overloaded with detail. It's a beautiful image that North American fans have had much fewer opportunities to ever see. It's fun to see Luigi, Toad, and Peach represented. None of them even get a single bit of artwork in the North American manual. I love how the Koopalings are all running and tumbling down this hill from a fortress, and Bowser looks awesome and imposing, but is also decidedly the weirdest part of the image. Black eyebrows? Blue eyes? A flowing cape? Is that an eyeball under his chin? Am I misinterpreting something here? Did they plan another form for Bowser that got cut? Well, he has had black eyebrows before in Japanese artwork, but otherwise it's just so dang strange to see him appear so differently on artwork that is otherwise extremely consistent with everything else. Well, I guess that flying blooper is weird too. Get out of here! Go bother someone in Lost Levels. The Japanese manual has just as many pages as the North American manual, and for the most part presents pretty much the same information, as far as I can tell. Though I'm not familiar with this weird picture of Bowser's legs stomping Mario. I'm told that Bowser is referring to himself in a particularly arrogant tone here, a bit of characterization that's lost in the translation. It's also worth noting that the Koopalings didn't originally have individual names. Those were brought back to Japan after the North American release of Mario 3. The Koopalings' little blurbs also seem to be fairly similar in content, though there are some larger differences. Roy appears on a different page in the Japanese manual, and seems to think Mario is a bit greedy, collecting all of these items to use on the world map. The manual even has a whole page with a really neat watercolor painting that I've not seen represented in exactly this form anywhere else. The US manual really didn't give much attention to airships, which are one of my favorite things in the game. The Japanese manual also has a letter from the game staff, but there's a curious little PS at the bottom. They hint at the existence of warp flutes as a way of apologizing for the lack of battery backup saves. Something that certainly surprises me, because in Western culture you'd never see official materials mention a missing feature, let alone apologize for it. It's been a lot of fun having a chance to look through these materials again, and in some cases a few things I'd never seen before. Ever since games became overly tutorialized, I'll admit that I've barely given most manuals even one glance for a couple of generations now. And I've probably missed a lot of clever presentation and rarely seen artwork. But now that stuff like this is all but gone, I think it's important to preserve what we do have.